The day I graduated, they were in Cabo, margaritas in hand, not even a text. A week later, they dumped our belongings on the porch. Suitcases, trash bags, my son's toy basket half open, and said, "We voted. You're out." "Hi, I'm Juliana." For years, I paid the bills, cooked the dinners, wired the money, thinking that love meant sacrifice. But when my own family erased me like I never existed, something in me broke, then rebuilt. Have you ever felt like a stranger in the house you helped keep standing, or like your silence became the reason they stopped seeing you? This is the story of how I went from being forgotten at my own graduation to owning the company my mother works for. Let me take you back to where it all started. 3 trash bags and a box of my son's toys. That's what a lifetime of sacrifice got me. The porch light was still on when we pulled up, flickering slightly like it was ashamed to still be shining. Leo had fallen asleep in the back seat, his hand clutching that tattered green dinosaur he refused to part with. I didn't wake him at first. I just sat there, staring at the lumpy black bags, the old laptop box shoved between them like it belonged in the recycling bin. Somewhere inside one of the bags, a family photo album slipped out halfway, its corner grazing the step. I got out, picked it up, and stared at the worn leather cover for a moment before shoving it back between the plastic folds, harder than I needed to. Marcus leaned over from the driver's seat. "Maybe this isn't what it looks like," he said, eyes tight with worry. A gust of wind cut between us, rustling a corner of a garbage bag. The porch light above us sputtered again, casting uneven yellow shadows across the boxes. I didn't respond. I already knew better. When I stepped out, the wind caught the edge of one bag, flapping it open to reveal Leo's booster seat. Our booster seat. I knocked twice. The door creaked open just a sliver, revealing my mother's face, still in her apron. She looked me dead in the eye. "It's time you stood on your own, Juliana," Cynthia said, calm and rehearsed like she was reading lines. It hit me in the same tone she used years ago, when she told me they couldn't attend my college graduation because they had booked a cruise. "We'll celebrate after," she'd said. They never did. That day, I took pictures alone, cap too tight, gown slightly wrinkled, and smiled anyway. I should have known it was a preview of how they'd keep forgetting me whenever it was most convenient. "No, we haven't," I said, my voice already cracking. Behind her, Vanessa stepped forward, arms crossed over her immaculate blouse. "We voted," she said, like this was a democracy. "Majority said it was time. It's not personal." I laughed once, dry. "Stability, right? That's what you called it?" My voice cut sharp, not loud, but sharp enough to hurt. Cynthia didn't flinch. She closed the door just a little more. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." My phone buzzed. A message from my cousin Natalia. A screenshot. "We all agree she has to go. Don't drag it out. She's not even pulling her weight." And then, right beneath it, Vanessa had written, "I'll handle it. Just act normal." Leo stirred, waking slowly in the back seat, rubbing his eyes. He peeked through the window at the porch, blinking under the dim flicker of the bulb. "Mama? Are we moving?" I bent down and held his tiny shoulders. "No, sweetheart," I whispered. "We're just not staying." Leo looked back one last time, eyes wide and confused, the reflection of our old living room window faintly catching in his pupils like a fading ghost. We packed what we could into the car. A stuffed dinosaur slipped from the top of a box, its fabric ear fluttering like a flag in surrender. Marcus lifted it wordlessly, shoved it into the trunk, then closed it with a soft thud. I didn't cry. Not even when we pulled into that rundown motel with the buzzing hallway lights and the air that smelled like lemon bleach and quiet failure. The soda machine groaned as Marcus fed it coins. I watched his reflection ripple in the plexiglass. I didn't cry when Leo asked why his toys were in garbage bags. I only cried when he was asleep. his hand still wrapped around my pinky in the dark, the hum of the old air conditioner masking my breath. In the morning, I made instant oatmeal in the motel microwave. Leo ate in a silence. The flickering ceiling light above us blinked out for 3 seconds, then steadied again like it had changed its mind. I caught my reflection in the dusty mirror above the dresser, and for the first time, I didn't recognize the woman looking back. Not because she was broken, because she wasn't crying anymore. She looked still, unmoved, like stone that had finally stopped softening. That night, after Leo was asleep, and Marcus scrolled blankly through his phone, I opened my laptop. The screen glowed pale across my face, drawing deep shadows beneath my eyes. My hands shook as I typed in an old email search, Greer Estate, draft for review. It was there, still sitting like a wound waiting to be reopened. The first draft, from 3 years ago, clearly stated, primary beneficiary, Juliana Moret. 6 months later, another file, same title. This time, it was Vanessa. I remembered the oxygen machine I helped pay for, the groceries I stocked in Grandpa's fridge, the night he said, "If anything happens, you're the only one who shows up." They erased that too. I stared at the screen, my hand hovering over the trackpad, and then I clicked download. I saved both versions. Then I backed them up in the cloud, emailed them to myself, and tucked a flash drive into Leo's toy box. Then I opened my notebook, the one I used for budgeting, grocery lists, Leo's class reminders, and wrote a single line at the top of a new page. They voted. I veto. Later that night, I sat beside his bed, watching his chest rise and fall in the motel's dim glow. His feet dangled off the edge of the mattress, still wearing the socks with tiny race cars on them. "They didn't just forget us," I whispered. "They rehearsed it." And that was the moment I stopped begging to be included. I didn't know what came next, but I knew it wouldn't be silent. Funny how your name disappears from a will right after your sister starts bringing cupcakes. The motel lamp clicked on with a hollow pop. Leo was still snoring softly in the second bed, one arm stretched across his plush dinosaur. I sat at the edge of mine, laptop warming my thighs, cursor blinking like it was daring me to keep going. I opened the folder again. I had already read the email 5 times. Subject line, Greer Estate draft for review. Dated 2019. The first draft listed me, Juliana Moret, as the primary beneficiary of my grandfather's house, the one with the sloping porch and the oak tree out front, the one I used to mow the lawn for every Saturday, the one where he gave me his last butterscotch candy before bed. Then came the revised version. Same lawyer, same file structure. But this time, the beneficiary was Vanessa Moret, and I knew exactly when it changed. That summer, Grandpa's health declined fast. I'd wired over $3,000 for his new oxygen machine. My name was never mentioned. Meanwhile, Vanessa started dropping by more often, with muffins, sympathy, and her old college roommate who, surprise, worked at a local estate law firm. I leaned back in the creaky bed. The ceiling fan spun lazily above, its chain clinking against metal with every turn like a taunt. I clicked on the metadata tab of the document. Created, June 2nd. Modified, September 17th. Same month I'd footed the hospital bill. Same week Vanessa showed up with a fruit basket and the same false smile she wore at family dinners. I knew I needed more than suspicion. So I called Nina. She picked up on the second ring, her voice still raspy with sleep. "Jules?" "I found the will. Both versions." She sat up immediately. I could hear rustling sheets. Wait. You're saying you have the original draft?" I nodded, then remembered she couldn't see me. "Yeah, and the one where my name vanishes like a magician's trick. Email them. Right now." I did. 10 minutes later, Nina was on Zoom, glasses on, hair tied back, already scrolling. "This is strong," she said, "especially if we tie it to financial records." "Which I have," I said, pulling up my bank app. "Oxygen machine, prescriptions, groceries. Look." I held the screen up to the webcam. "These were all in my name." She stared at the screen, then me. "They replaced you," she said softly. "But you kept the receipts." Have you ever realized your absence was carefully planned, not accidental? That someone didn't just forget you, they made sure others did too? If that hits you somewhere deep, leave a comment number 7 below. Now let's see how I responded. Outside, a delivery truck backed into the gas station across the street. Its reverse beep echoed faintly through the motel walls. Leo stirred but didn't wake. "What do I do?" I asked. Nina's mouth pressed into a line. "We start documentation, full timeline, statements, and then..." She pointed at the screen. "We go after the truth." After we ended the call, I sat still for a long time. The motel air was too dry. I scrolled through my photo gallery, past Leo's drawings, my food stamp approval from years ago, and a picture of Grandpa and me on the porch steps. I stared at his wrinkled hand over mine. I remembered him saying, "Don't worry about the rest. If I had anything to leave, it'd go to you." Apparently, they made sure he didn't. I started gathering screenshots, bank transfers, email confirmations, even the DoorDash receipt from the day Vanessa brought homemade cookies. I created a folder. Family fraud. Evidence. I backed it up to the cloud, to a hard drive, and even emailed it to a throwaway Gmail account. Then I went to the motel bathroom, shut the door, and stared at myself under fluorescent light. My face looked tighter, less familiar. I picked up the motel pen and flipped to the back of a receipt I'd left on the counter. I scribbled the sentence that had been crawling in the back of my skull all night. "She replaced me with her name and cupcakes. Guess I'll reply with a lawsuit." Just as I dropped the pen, a noise came from Leo's bed. "Mom?" I walked out quickly. He was sitting up, rubbing his eyes. "You okay, baby?" He nodded, then paused. "Did I do something wrong at Grandma's house?" That question. That perfect, crushing question. "No, sweetheart," I said, crawling in next to him. "You did everything right. They just got it wrong." We lay there for a while. Leo's breathing evened out. I stared at the ceiling. The motel light flickered. I didn't flinch this time. They clapped for her like she'd built the library herself. But it was my account that paid for every brick. The folding chairs in the school auditorium squeaked under the weight of restless parents. Posters lined the walls, crayon owls with lopsided glasses, glittered slogans like "Readers are leaders." The air smelled of lemon cleaner, Elmer's glue, and collective pride. Leo clutched his sketchpad against his chest as we shuffled to the back row. "Can I give Nathan my drawing before we leave?" he asked. "Of course, baby," I smiled, brushing a fleck of granola bar from his cheek. "He'll love it." We sat behind 2 PTA moms whispering over a clipboard. On stage, the principal tapped the microphone. A sharp pop echoed, causing some kids to giggle. "Before we begin," he said, "we'd like to thank the sponsor who made this beautiful reading space possible. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mrs. Vanessa Moret." Applause erupted like someone had just solved world hunger. Phones raised, whispers spread. Vanessa emerged in her perfect navy wrap dress, heels barely making a sound on the wood stage. Her smile was generous, practiced, eerily similar to the one she wore when she took credit for my casserole last Thanksgiving. I clapped once, then again, slower. Even Leo clapped briefly before squinting up at me. "But Mommy, didn't we?" I didn't answer. I leaned down and whispered, "Sometimes, when you give too much, people forget who gave it." His little brow furrowed. "That's not fair." No, I said softly. It's not. A woman 2 rows in front turned slightly, whispering to her seatmate. I caught only fragments. Didn't the newsletter mention Juliana? Local LCC? The other woman shrugged. Maybe they changed sponsors. That one breath of quiet doubt was enough to keep my spine straight for the rest of the ceremony. Vanessa took the mic. When you care, you give, she said. I just wanted to help these children fall in love with reading. She looked directly at me. I smiled back, cool and clean, like glass. After the student readings, halting, adorable renditions of favorite lines from picture books, Leo approached Nathan. I made this for you. He held out the sketch. A robot with glasses reading a book to smaller robots on beanbags. Thanks, Nathan said, glancing at it. Cool. He tucked it under his armpit like it was a napkin and bolted toward the juice table. I stayed in my seat while Vanessa posed with parents in front of the Reading Rocks banner, hand on hip, tilting her head just enough for her hair to catch the light. My hands itched. I stood up. Outside, I sat on a bench under a tree that still hadn't fully bloomed. The sunlight filtered in striped patterns across the playground asphalt. Leo climbed the slide ladder, then slid halfway down and stopped just to feel the wind. I opened my phone, tapped record, then stopped. I stared at the red circle on the screen, thumb hovering over it. My heart thudded, not from fear, but from the sharp clarity of being done. Done explaining, done shrinking. I pressed record. My name is Juliana Moret, I said. I'm a mother, a donor, and someone who learned that silence doesn't protect you from being erased. I didn't yell, didn't name names. I simply inserted the transfer receipt onto the screen, $5,000 labeled Reading Project Oak Ridge Elementary. The bank name, the LC, the date, the truth. I ended. It's okay to give quietly. But don't be surprised when someone louder takes the bow. As Leo slid down and ran to me with cheeks flushed from joy, I clicked upload. That night, back at the motel, he sat cross-legged on the floor with crayons. Can I draw the school again? He asked. Sure, I said. He drew the stage, the banner, the rows of chairs. In the corner, a woman held a small sign that read, I helped. It wasn't drawn well, but I knew the face. It was mine. As he colored, I unlocked my phone to check the video. Views, 2,000. Then 4,700. Comments trickled in. This is my mom's story too. You're speaking for all of us who stayed silent. Vanessa. Like that Vanessa? One even said, I worked with her. She takes credit a lot. This checks out. I took a deep breath and sat beside Leo. He looked up and pointed to my phone. Is that your video? It is. Are you telling them what happened? I nodded. I'm just making sure no one else takes what's not theirs. He blinked, satisfied, and went back to drawing tiny stars above the auditorium's ceiling. I reached for my notebook, the one that held every quiet declaration I never said aloud. Below, they voted. I veto, I wrote. Loud isn't the same as right. And this time, I didn't just underline it. I boxed it in. I didn't come to argue, I came for what's mine. Starting with the chair my son learned to eat in. The sun was starting to dip behind the rows of maple trees as we pulled up to Jasmine's house. From the outside, it looked like a catalog ad, white string lights crisscrossing the backyard, linen tablecloths fluttering gently in the breeze, and one long table stretched under a canopy, set with name cards and mismatched wine glasses that tried a little too hard to feel effortless. I stood outside the gate for a moment, Leo's hand in mine, his other arm cradling a crumpled drawing. I had changed my outfit 3 times, settled on something clean but quiet. The kind of outfit that didn't ask for attention, but didn't apologize either. Marcus gave my shoulder a squeeze. You don't have to go in if you don't want to. I know, I said, and I opened the gate anyway. Inside, voices mingled with jazz playing softly from portable speakers. People turned to look, some smiling, some pretending not to notice. The clinking of cutlery and the occasional burst of laughter blended into the soft hum of early evening. I scanned the table. There were name cards for Jasmine, her fiancé, Marina, even one for Laya, the birthday girl, but none for me, none for Marcus. And certainly no high chair for Leo. Jasmine's husband approached us, blinking too much. Hey, we didn't know you were coming, but there's a bar stool in the kitchen if that's okay. I nodded, the smile on my face automatic. No worries at all. Leo climbed into my lap as I perched on the bar stool by the sliding glass door. My plate balanced on one knee. He picked at the edges of the salad with his tiny fork, trying to stay quiet. Marcus stood behind me, one hand resting lightly on my shoulder, the other holding a plastic cup. Across the lawn, Vanessa was mid-story about a work retreat in Napa Valley. Cynthia laughed at something, shaking her glass gently, the ice clicking like a clock counting down. That's when Leo tugged on my sleeve. Mommy, he whispered, pointing toward the far end of the patio. My chair. I followed his gaze. There, tucked beside a table loaded with drinks, was the small wooden high chair with the soft gray padding I had custom ordered 2 years ago. A faded blue sticker still peeked from under the leg. Julianum-Renner at Amazon.com. The air shifted. I stood up slowly, walked across the grass, each step measured like a countdown. The string lights above us flickered faintly. A breeze passed, rustling paper napkins and the corners of the linen like breath holding still. Vanessa saw me first. Jules, she said, her voice lilting with false warmth. Did you get some pasta? It's a bit al dente. I bent down, peeled the sticker from the chair leg and held it up between 2 fingers. This doesn't belong to the house, I said, voice steady. It belongs to my son. And I have the receipt. A hush rolled over the lawn like a cold wind. I lifted the chair gently as if it were still carrying the weight of Leo's first birthday cake crumbs and applesauce stains, and I walked back to our spot with it. No one stopped me. No one dared. Leo climbed into it, his legs dangling, smiling as if he'd just re-entered a piece of home. The click of a phone camera somewhere nearby told me someone had noticed, but no one said a word. Vanessa stared, her glass frozen mid-air. Cynthia adjusted her napkin. I pulled out my phone and took a photo. Leo in his chair, back in his place. Not for Instagram, not for proof, just to remember. Do you feel better now? Marcus asked quietly behind me. I looked at Leo, still happily nibbling from my plate. Not better, just right. After dessert, as people gathered around the fire pit, I sat quietly beside Marcus. The string lights glowed above us, warm and undeserved. The wood crackled, a soft counterpoint to the buzz of small talk and marshmallows. Marcus leaned in. That was kinda badass. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. But I caught a glance from across the yard. Jasmine watching me, her eyes uncertain. For once, she looked unsure which side she was supposed to be on. Leo turned toward me, cheeks sticky with frosting. Can we take the chair home? He asked. We never left it, baby, I said, brushing crumbs from his lap. They just put it in the wrong place. I opened my email. A new message had arrived from Nina. Subject: Ready when you are. Inheritance fraud, preliminary draft attached. My thumb hovered over the file. Then I clicked. That night, back at the motel, Leo refused to sleep in the bed. He insisted on curling into the reclaimed chair, a blanket draped over him like a cape. It feels safe here, he mumbled. I let him be. I stood by the window, watching the parking lot glisten under a buzzing lamplight. Somewhere nearby, a car door slammed. A breeze ruffled the motel curtain behind me. I thought about everything they took: space, respect, acknowledgement, and how quietly they did it. But this time, I wasn't asking for a seat. I was taking the whole damn chair back. They stole my name from a will, so I made sure the judge would never forget it again. It was still dark when I zipped Leo's coat and handed him his sketch pad. Marcus waited by the door, quiet as ever, a travel mug in one hand, worry in the other. We dropped Leo off with Nina's neighbor, who had babysat once during flu season and was now, by default, trustworthy. I gave her an extra $20, just in case. The courthouse was colder than I remembered. Room 2A smelled of old paper and canned air. Light pooled along the floor like it didn't want to rise. The fluorescent ceiling hummed above us like it had a secret. I sat at the plaintiff's table with Nina, whose crisp navy blazer gave her the kind of credibility I could only dream of. She shuffled our file quietly, lips pressed into a line. Across from us sat Vanessa, flawless as always, her blazer bone white, her lipstick unapologetic. Cynthia was beside her in the same pearls I helped pick for her 25th anniversary. Marina and Jenna sat 2 rows back, whispering behind manicured hands. The judge, a woman with silver-streaked hair pulled tight and a voice like tempered glass, entered, and we all rose. My palms were dry, but I curled them under the table anyway. The room fell silent except for the rhythmic squeak of the court reporter's keys. Case 145C, the clerk read, Juliana Moret versus Vanessa Moret. Petition to review contested estate documentation. Let the erasure unravel. Nina stood first, firm-voiced and calm. She walked the judge through the original 2019 will, my name clearly stated as the primary beneficiary of my grandfather's property in Bexley. Then, she introduced the revised version, dated 6 months later, where my name had vanished like a deleted sentence. Your Honor, Nina said, adjusting her glasses. We will demonstrate that the revised document was executed under coercive conditions and improperly influenced during a period of medical instability. Vanessa scoffed, flipping through a notepad she didn't even pretend to read. If helping Grandpa with muffins and errands counts as coercion, Nina didn't blink. Exhibit C, Your Honor. She handed over a neatly printed spreadsheet. All the bank transfers I had made from my account to Grandpa's, oxygen equipment, grocery reimbursements, utility bills, each item dated and documented. One line read, Final RX, $294.76, paid by Juliana. Cynthia's face went still. Then came the recording. Nina pressed play on the portable speaker, and my sister's voice echoed across the chamber. Of course I used her money. She never speaks up anyway. Even the fluorescent lights seemed to pause. There was no gasp. Just the absence of breath. The silence felt loud. Marina shifted uncomfortably. I heard her whisper, That's not great. The judge stared, her pen hovering above the file like she was deciding whether to write something down or burn it. Then Nina turned to me. Ms. Moret, would you like to submit anything directly? I stood, heart steady now. From my tote, I pulled the white envelope my mother once slid under the motel door. I walked it across the courtroom floor and placed it on the defense table in front of Cynthia. She looked at it like it might bite her. This was left for me when we had nowhere to go, I said, my voice clear but not cold. Inside was $40 and a note that said, Hope this helps. No hard feelings. From my coat pocket, I produced a second envelope, this one blank. I placed it gently beside the first. Inside was a signed, undated check. In case you ever want to return what I gave, I said, my eyes locked on hers, adjusted for inflation. They called me invisible. Now they'll have to clock in under my name. It started with a notification, nothing dramatic, just a ping. Dossier uploaded, Grantham Holdings target files, confirmed. I was sitting on the motel bed, Leo asleep beside me, a half-eaten banana muffin still in his hand. His chest rose and fell with the rhythmic calm only children know how to trust. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I stood up quietly and opened the window. The night air was cool, laced with the faint scent of cut grass and gasoline. 3 days earlier, after the court ruling, I'd met Tanya at a co-op cafe near downtown. Tanya had once interned at a private equity firm. Now she ran a boutique fund that specialized in what she called clean flips, wounded companies with potential. "You said you wanted to do something bigger than a court win," she told me, sliding her laptop across the table. "How about buying the building your mom works in?" I blinked. "Tanya," she smirked. I mean the whole company. Grantham Holdings is bleeding, 1 acquisition tanked, 2 lawsuits in arbitration. Their board is looking to offload regional branches to keep the rest afloat." I hesitated. I wasn't sure if what I wanted was revenge or justice, but then I remembered Leo sitting on my lap with no plate of his own. I remembered the envelope under the motel door. Vanessa's voice on tape. "She never speaks up anyway." Well, I was speaking now. The offer was quiet. 1 shell company, 3 partner names, a package deal that looked like a merger but moved like a takeover. Tanya did the pitching. I signed when needed. Nina reviewed the legal end. No headlines, no leaks. You wouldn't find Juliana Moret on a single page of the paperwork, but it was my signature that locked the deal. On Friday morning, I walked into the Grantham Holdings lobby in a navy sheath dress and flat shoes. Practical armor. Just enough to blend in. Just enough to own the room. The receptionist gave me that neutral smile meant for any professional face. "Here for the 9 a.m. handover?" she asked. "Yes," I said. Upstairs, the boardroom smelled like old coffee and tension. The blinds were drawn halfway, folders stacked at every seat like waiting soldiers. Vanessa didn't work here, but Marina did. She was near the file cabinet flipping through a clipboard, completely unaware. When the lead consultant gestured toward the front and said, "Let's welcome one of our new silent partners," I stepped forward. Marina turned. The color drained from her face. "Juliana?" she said. "What are you—" I didn't respond. I took my seat at the table. Chairs adjusted. Phones slid away. The atmosphere recalibrated itself. The consultant continued. "The acquisition structure allows for short-term observation and transition authority. Ms. Moret will be overseeing select procedures during this phase." Marina's voice cracked. "That's not possible. This is where I looked at the screen where her name sat highlighted. Salary history, review summaries, attendance notes. "I know," I said. I read the full file. For the next 3 weeks, I didn't fire anyone. I didn't change the dress code. I didn't even raise my voice. I just watched. Every late clock in. Every carefully worded passive-aggressive memo. Every time Marina sighed when someone younger had an idea. I didn't need to punish. They were doing that all by themselves. Vanessa texted me once after the news leaked. "This is petty. You're not better than us." I didn't respond. I took a screenshot. I saved it in a folder labeled Closure. During the 3rd week, I passed by the kitchenette. Marina was microwaving ziti in a cracked plastic container. She didn't look at me when she said, "Mom cried yesterday. She said you're trying to humiliate us." I paused. Is that what this feels like? Humiliation? Or is it just a consequence? She turned, slowly. "What do you want from us, Juliana?" I could finally answer that. "Nothing," I said. "You've already given me everything. All I had to do was keep the receipts." On my final day at the office, I packed the last drawer into a digital folder. Leo sat beside me drawing on the whiteboard in rainbow markers. A stick figure stood above a building, arms outstretched like a champion. "Is that me?" I asked. He nodded. "You bought the whole building, right?" I smiled. "Not all of it, just enough." I turned back to the screen. One document remained. I tapped it once, then pressed send. Ownership transfer? Complete? I don't need to be invited to sit at their table anymore because I've already built my own. Quiet mornings in our new apartment, Leo humming as he draws, sunlight spilling across the floor. This is what winning looks like. Not in headlines, in peace. I've learned that silence doesn't protect you. It erases you. And when you finally decide to stop shrinking, to stop explaining, to stop waiting for people to treat you right, you don't just reclaim your dignity, you reclaim your entire life. Have you ever been made to feel small in a place you helped build? If this story echoes something inside you, I'd love to hear it. Tell me in the comments, what was the moment you realized you deserved more? And if you're still waiting for that moment, maybe this story was your sign.